That night, the storm rolled in, and Somo and Lolo just wanted a warm place to hide. They were two tiny puppies, lost on the edge of the old rail yard. Somo was the bold, curious one. Lolo, his timid brother, trembled at his side. The wind howled through the towering, rusted train cars, and the shadows felt cold and threatening. When lightning cracked open the sky, Lolo bolted. He scrambled toward the nearest shelter he could find. Somo chased after him, barking for him to stop. That's when they saw it. A train sitting all alone on a forgotten track, its metal sides scorched with age. The doors were open, almost as if it was inviting them in. Somo sniffed the air. Something felt wrong, like the train itself was breathing. But another crash of thunder shook the ground, and Lolo darted inside. Somo had no choice, he had to follow. Inside, the air was thick with dust and an old, bitter smell, like dried tears. The lights overhead flickered, even though the train had no power. The seats were torn, stuffing spilling out like grey moss. Somo's tail stiffened, but he let out a confident bark, trying to reassure Lolo, who whimpered and pressed close to his side. The moment they stepped deeper into the car, the door slammed shut behind them with a thunderous clang. Both puppies jumped. The lights flickered faster, humming with a static rhythm. Then, the train lurched forward. The floor vibrated as if giant footsteps were running underneath. Somo growled, his little body tense. Lolo hid his face in Somo's fur. And then came the whispers. They drifted between the seats, thin and broken. At first they sounded like wind squeezing through cracks, but soon the words became clear. Stay, stay, don't leave us. Somo backed away, barking fiercely, trying to chase the voices away. The whispering stopped, but only for a moment. The next voice was deeper, a low groan that seemed to echo from everywhere. Passengers, return to your seats. Lolo let out a tiny yelp as a cold draft curled around his paws. Something unseen brushed against his tail. Somo snapped at the empty space, but the cold only tightened, swirling around them like ghostly fingers. The train rattled violently, then slid into complete darkness. The windows showed nothing but black fog pressing against the glass. Somo pushed forward, tugging Lolo along. They had to find another exit. They reached the connecting door to the next car, which creaked open on its own. Inside was a dining car, lit with a sickly green glow. Plates were set on the tables, but the food was covered in thick, white mold. Chairs rocked as if invisible guests were shifting in their seats. Silverware clattered. A single fork lifted into the air and pointed straight at the puppies, trembling like it was being gripped by an angry hand. Somo growled louder than he ever had in his life. The fork dropped, but the train wasn't done with them. The overhead lights burst, showering sparks. The windows fogged up from the inside, and shapes began to press against them. Faces, pale, hollow-eyed faces of passengers long gone, trapped on the train for decades. Their mouths opened wide in silent screams. Lolo began to cry, tiny whimpers breaking in his throat. Somo nudged him, urging him forward. He wouldn't let this train take them. They scrambled to the end of the car. Another door. Somo jumped, hitting the latch with his paws. It opened. The final car was the engine room. It was empty, no conductor, no controls, just a single lantern burning with a strange blue flame. The train shook harder, picking up impossible speed. The lantern flickered violently, and the flame stretched upward like a twisting, living thing. It formed a face, sunken eyes, a skeletal grin. You cannot leave, it hissed. Somo barked with all his courage, placing himself between the ghostly flame and Lolo, and then Lolo, shaking, stepped up beside him. Together they barked again, louder, stronger. Their voices echoed through the entire train. The lantern shattered. The train screeched as if in pain. Everything shook. The windows exploded outward. A blast of cold wind swept through, and suddenly, the train stopped. Silence. The doors slid open on their own. Outside, the storm had passed. The rail yard was quiet. Somo nudged Lolo gently, and together, they stepped off the ghost train. As they reached the ground, the doors slammed shut, and the train began to fade, slowly, like mist, dissolving in the morning sunlight. Somo and Lolo didn't look back. They ran until the cursed tracks were far behind them, and in the distance, barely audible, a whisper returned. Passengers, come back.